Hello princesses! Today I'm going to be talking about the Innisfree My Drop Tone Up Blender. I saw this advertised on Innisfree's website when I was looking for the Vivid Cotton inks, which are the lipsticks that I'm wearing at the moment, and I was really excited because as a pale girl, sometimes you cannot find a foundation that matches you, although I'm going to be completely honest, it's not really a problem anymore as much as it used to be. Back when I first started beauty blogging, and the reason that I started actually doing a lot of reviews was because it was really difficult to find a light shade of BB cream or foundation or whatever that came in a warm undertone. So almost all of the lighter shades at the drugstore where I would be shopping would be pink undertones, so like your Revlons, your L'Oreals. They didn't have the shade range that they do nowadays. So what I used to have to do was to get the second lighter shade, which would usually be the warm tone or like the third maybe, and I would have to lighten them using either white pigment or things like this, like a tone up blender. There are some issues with doing this, the main being that you end up diluting the formula of the original product. So say you have a really matte foundation to start with that has really high coverage. If you add some like blending drops, not these necessarily, but just in general, it can dilute the coverage because you're changing the actual formula, and it can actually change the finish of the foundation as well. So originally your foundation might have been matte. You add your drops to lighten it, and all of a sudden it's like a dewy medium coverage foundation. You know, it's a totally different thing. And if you start up with something that's really dewy and has really light coverage, if you lighten it, sometimes it has no coverage. Yeah, maybe it's the right color, but like what's the point in putting it on your skin if it's not doing anything? And that was one of the main reasons that I started turning to K-Beauty, because their lighter shades used to be quite yellow generally. Nowadays K-Beauty shades are generally pink toned, like the lighter shades almost always are pink or sort of like more of a peachy color. I really need something that's like banana yellow, like Nars Glow in Siberia. But in general, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's an issue for me anymore. I have like a couple of like good foundations that I really adore using that work well for my skin, and I find that in most aspects I can find something that works well enough without having to use a mixer. So when I saw this, I was kind of like, oh my god, that's like a blast from the past. Like I haven't used a mixer in years, I would say now, but I was really curious because I've never seen a mixer from K-Beauty. So I was like, is it going to be good quality? Or is it going to turn everything into light coverage, dewy finish, no longevity? Like, is it going to totally destroy the actual foundation? Or is it going to complement most of them and actually make them lighter without, you know, completely demolishing the coverage? Because that is the main point for me. Nowadays, I don't actually need it because I'm not so pale that I can't fit into anything. Like, I'm not saying I'm as white as paper. I'm literally a ghost. I'm actually transparent, like, please. But I was excited to see this. This also comes in a toned down blender, I think. Yeah, a toned down blender, which is one that can actually darken foundations, which is really cool. So let's start out with the product description. So the general product description says, Innisfree My Drop comes in 6 formulations: moisturizing, hydrating, radiance, long wear, tone up, tone down, each with its own unique properties to address different skin concerns. So for the tone up blender itself, it says, enriched with mineral cover complex TM, it brightens up your foundation shade, making it lighter. Blend it with your foundation and use it as a highlighter. So this review didn't go exactly as I planned it, so instead of cutting away to the other part now, I'm going to be doing some of it now. So in terms of the packaging, I am very 50-50 on this. It is a really nice shape, it's very long, it's very skinny, and it has a nice hard plastic or glass outer. I can't decide if it's plastic or glass. It comes with a dropper top, but there is no inside rim for the dropper top to actually be scraped. So the dropper top is very messy. It doesn't actually pick up that much product. So sometimes I need to be going back in and back out depending on which foundation I want to lighten and how many drops I need to add. The color of the tone up blender is very pale. It is pretty much like a milky white. It's got a little bit of a warm tone for my eyes, so it's a little bit yellow, which I personally like. It is very easy to blend out on its own. It does have a really sort of like oily texture on the skin, which is A little bit unusual, but not bad at all. I actually can't find the ingredients of this one specifically, so I don't know if it is a silicone base or if it is an oil base, because that will definitely affect how it interacts with the foundations that you are putting it with. So if you want to put it with a silicone based foundation, it needs to be a silicone blender. If you wanted to put it with an oil or a water based foundation, it needs to be an oil or a water base. Actually, I think it's oil and silicone that go together. This blends out to be absolutely invisible on my skin, which is part of the issue. It does have a beautiful glow, which is why I'm considering that it has oil in the formula, but it is absolutely invisible if I blend it out on its own. So in this example here, I mixed it with my NARS Sheer Glow foundation, which doesn't need to be lightened, but it's what I had on hand at the time. And you can see that when I mix it in, the Sheer Glow actually changes formula. It's much lighter and it is not looking the best. It kind of looks like it's separating out on my hand, which means that it definitely has a different texture and it's going to have a different amount of coverage. So the drop is actually changing the texture of this foundation entirely. And again, I don't know if it's not just playing well because it's an oil or a water-based blender, because there's no actual ingredients. So I didn't record myself applying this because I was only doing it as like a trial run, but I ended up having to record the trial run anyway because the difference between the two foundations was too obvious. It wasn't just that one side was lighter, it was that they just looked like I had done one side of my face with foundation and one side without. Now unfortunately, I cannot go outside looking like this. I have to go to work throughout the week, and when I film my reviews, I film them throughout the week when I go to work. You know, you're getting a real life application. You see me put it on in the morning, you see me wear it throughout the day. I don't usually sit at home and do nothing, apart from on the weekends where I do trial runs. So I applied this like I would apply a normal foundation. There really wasn't anything to see anyway, so I don't think it's harmful that I'm not going to show you. I don't think you're really missing out on anything. If you want to see me apply foundations, you can see me apply it on literally any other foundation review. So I'm just going to cut straight to me having the foundation on my face, and you can see why I chose not to go outside of the house wearing that. Okay, so I wasn't planning on filming today, but I'm not sure how else I'm going to review this product. My current predicament is that I don't have any foundations of my own that are too dark for me at the moment. They're all pretty good colour matches, or they're just like a little bit peachy or a little bit pink. So instead I decided to try out using one of my sister's foundations. She has darker skin than me, but it is kind of the same tone, so I thought that would be okay. And I used her winter shade, which is the lightest one she owns. So this is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Lasting Liquid Foundation, and she has this shade Neutral 2. And that is the foundation that I'm wearing on this side of my face, which doesn't look like it in the camera, but it is like way too dark. To get it to this colour, which is the correct colour for my skin, I needed to use 2 drops of the Innisfree My Drop Tone Up Blender, which made it the right tone. But the problem is that the Tone Up Blender not only altered the colour, which I wanted it to, but also the formula and the finish and the coverage. So this is what the Shiseido looks like on its own. It's got really nice medium coverage. It has a satin matte finish. This is unset, and it is slightly drying, which is not so bad. Whereas this is what it looks like when it is blended with the Innisfree My Drop. There's like no coverage. It almost looks like I'm not wearing anything on my skin. It also has a more dewy appearance, and it is slightly stickier to the touch, meaning that I definitely need to set this. I used 2 layers of the blended foundations to get this coverage, which is like, you know, nothing. So if you look around my nose, you can see the redness clearly. No redness. Lots of acne scarring. Very little acne scarring. Not because I don't have anything here, but because the foundation is covering it. My problem is that on camera it doesn't look too mismatched, but in real life it looks bad. So this is not something that I can test while I'm wearing it to schools when I'm teaching. It's just not, it doesn't look good. I did want to test if this changed the longevity of the foundation, so I'm going to be doing some more check-ins throughout the day. This is like, we're not going outside today, so the hair's messy, it's in a bun. We're not going to get any more dressed, but I'm going to try some of the other makeup on at the moment, so I will check in with you guys a little bit later. So the foundations have been on for 6 hours now. Please excuse the random eyes. I've been trying to make some eyeshadow looks with some of the Etude House eyeshadows. That's a solid no. That one I think would look okay with some like eyelashes and liner. But so far, aside from the colour and the coverage, I can't see much difference in terms of longevity. So this is the side that has the Tone Up Blender in it. It does look a little bit dewier than the other side, which is just the regular foundation, but it's not breaking down anywhere or getting too greasy. That is the other side. These eyeshadows, however, have a horrific fallout. You cannot get the glitter off afterwards. Not good. So I'm going to keep the foundations on for a little while longer to see if anything changes. So this is what my face looks like after 10 hours wear. So this is the side that is just Shiseido, and this is the side with the Innisfree tone up blender as well. I really don't see any difference in terms of oil control and longevity. I feel like they are both pretty much exactly the same. Obviously there's still a massive difference in coverage. This looks like I pretty much haven't put anything on my skin, whereas this obviously looks like a foundation. So yeah, but at least it doesn't change the longevity of the product. So at the end of the day, the Innisfree My Drop in the Tone Up Blender, did it lighten the foundation? Yes, it did lighten the foundation. I was able to lighten my sister's foundation, who is much darker than me, into a shade that was wearable. It also did not change the longevity of the foundation. My skin did not get any more oily or any more glowy with using the Tone Up Blender than it normally would have with using that one foundation. However, it changed the coverage so much that it looked like I wasn't wearing anything at all. When I had my sister, my brother's girlfriend around, I all asked them to critique my face, and they didn't think I was wearing anything on that side of my face, which is the one that was mixed with the Tone Up Blender. Not because it was the right colour for my skin, but because you could literally see all of my freckles, you could see all of the acne scarring, all of the pores. It looked like I wasn't wearing anything. So what is the point in using the product if you can't see anything? It also changed the texture of the foundation. The foundation that was normal on this side had a semi-matte finish, and it was sort of like not so sticky to touch. The foundation on this side had definitely got a dewy appearance, and it was slightly tacky to touch. Both sides I did set with powder. I think the concept of these products is really, really good. I think that like something that adds moisture, something that adds a bit of glow, mattifying, the tone up, the tone down. I think that these are all really great things so that you can customize your foundation, because at the end of the day, most people can't walk into a store and say, okay, I want specifically that foundation and get exactly the right color every single time. And sometimes you do want a foundation specifically for the formula. So like the Estee Lauder Double Wear, if I wanted something that was super covering, I would go for that. But they don't have my shade at all. So I would need to use something like this to lighten up one of the yellow colors so that it was my shade. But if I was adding this to it, I would destroy the double wear effect. I wouldn't have the coverage that I would normally have with that foundation, and that's what I'm buying that foundation for. So for me, I think that the Tone Up Blender isn't something that I would recommend personally. Maybe the Tone Down Blender, the mattifying, the glowiness. I think that those are definitely ones that you could probably add a really small amount and not change the formula that much. However, this just doesn't work for me. It's like pretty much all of the other mixes that I've tried on the market. It's too diluted. You really need something that is more pigmented so that you can use less of the blender to get the same result. Because what happens is that, you know how this blended out to be absolutely nothing on the back of my hand? That's what happens on my face. You end up having too much of the blender in the formula to lighten it, and therefore you only get the effect of what is in this bottle. You don't actually get the effect of what the foundation is offering, and that is what you want. So that is my review. As disappointing as that may be to some people, I just think that it's not nearly pigmented enough to actually be doing any lightening of the foundation. It did add a glowy and dewy texture to the foundation that I was wearing, which I didn't want. But if you do want that, then that's something that you could definitely use. You could use a little bit of it to brighten up a foundation, but if you're looking to use it to actually lighten the shade of your foundation, it is not a product I would recommend. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!